Welcome to the Vinyl Matters podcast here in the pressing plant. Matter of fact, whoa, we have Moses here from Detroit, and he just played an amazing set. You see the turntables are in battle modus. That means the set it's a killer set. You will listen to it and you will love it. Moses.
What up, though?
What up, though? Welcome here.
Thank you.
In our small city in our pressing plant. I'm totally happy you made it here. Yeah, it's such a big pleasure. We met the first time in Detroit.
At the best party in Detroit.
At the best party. It was a packed floor and we played back to back.
We met at the barbecue.
Yeah, that was the best party.
My favorite,
that was the best food and the best thing.
Yep.
That was killer. I saw you playing there and I was with Marcos like, look, this guy, he's playing vinyl and he's playing really good and he's playing really fast. And someone came to me and said, that's Moses from Detroit. I think it was Klaus or someone. Yeah.
Love Klaus.
Yeah, love. All the shout outs to Klaus for taking us to this beautiful city.
Roach and I have a nickname for Klaus.
Yeah.
We call him Klaus the Fog Backdoor. Because every time we play with him, he's like, fog. You just fill it up with fog. And we're we can't see anything.
He's kind of old school. Back in the days, we had only a flashlight.
Yeah.
And fog.
Yep.
And the fog is, we need some fog on the floor. The set was crazy amazing. Techno, house, booty tech, electro. That takes me to your skills. Amazing skills. And you just came from Georgia.
Yep.
Tell us about this.
Just on like a small little tour. Really just pushing these few records that my group Biblical Proportion put out. Me and my partner Solomon Allen, one of the greatest musicians and best dudes I've ever known. This is like our 8th record or something like that. And we put out a whole bunch, and I wanted to like just kind of go out and like really hit the road and push it myself. And randomly, like a year ago, a gentleman that ran a school that I was teaching vinyl at, called me and said, you need to come meet this lady. And I just said, okay, went and met her. And she said, I'm from Georgia. I was like, Atlanta? And she was like, no, the country. Then I was like, I have no idea about it. But she told me about her school, told me a little bit about the troubles that are going on over there, like politically.
Yeah.
And she was like, I would really love for like my students to get exposure to some Detroit like DJs. And I said, well, I'd love to come, but I have to teach vinyl. I'm not going to teach digital. And she said, yes, they don't have anyone to teach them vinyl. So we're like, let's make it happen. And then it all fell apart. So I was just like, okay, like nothing's going to happen there.
Yeah.
And then her partner, her like assistant, Amy, messaged me out of the blue and said she had an idea for a global exchange program for artists. And I work on the Detroit-Berlin connection. I'm the secretary on that board with like John Collins and Cornelius Harris. Mike Banks is on it. And some other, Angie Linder was like president forever along with Dimitri. And so I was like, yeah, this sounds really cool. But in that conversation, I said, oh yeah, I'm going to be doing this small little Europe tour. And she said, well, where will you be? I said, I'm here. And I mentioned Germany, and she was like, we can fly you from there.
Great.
She's like, we can't fly you from Detroit, but if you're there, we can afford to fly you over from Berlin or Hamburg. And I was like, well, okay, I can make that happen. So I like kind of carved out like, 40 hours and said, okay, I can give you guys 40 hours. And went there for like, it felt like, just while it was like a day and a half, not a little less than 2 days. And great kids. They were so enthusiastic and just engaging, a little standoffish and shy at first, but once I got on the decks, it didn't matter.
That's
Yeah, and I did that, and they were. It was great. It was wonderful. Shout out to Amy and the whole team over there. It was fun, and I can't wait to go back and teach more.
Yeah, that's amazing. Teaching kids with music, turntables, whatever, beats, drums. Yeah, that's a really cool story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we pressed a record for you.
Yeah. And it sounds so good. Fuck. I was like, Marcus saw my face, where if he can see me now.
Yeah,
Marcus
Marcus
saw me, I was like, I dropped it and I went, whoa, fuck, like that hit.
Because the gain was really, you have to reduce the gain.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's gonna sound great. in
We try to
Detroit.
get out the best out of the best music. So yeah, the record is amazing.
Thank you.
It's amazing, and it's a real pleasure to press this here for your Europe travel. And tell us more about your label.
It's just kind of started. I like
The name.
Moses and David Records. I have a friend, David, back in Detroit. And
Yeah, he's very nice.
like I had all this great material with all these amazing remixes. So like the record you press, the remixes are like some of the biggest names in techno.
There's
Well, it's Thomas Barnett, which is the track I played tonight.
Yeah.
That slams. He's such a beast. He's so good, and I would say he's underrated, but I think everybody knows that he's great. Like, he's an unsung hero of Detroit, especially when it comes to good techno music, and he's somebody I've always looked up to and respected, and he's always been so good to me. I'm really lucky.
But he's a legend for me already.
Yeah.
Beside all the other guys. Yeah.
But then Suburban Night, like
Yeah.
Jit just came in and like laid down a Suburban Night track, and it's so like sporadic and like hard to mix, but it's like amazing all at the same time. And then Claude Young, like
Claude Young.
Claude and I have became a little bit closer through the past couple of years, and I was asked him like, hey man, like when was the last vinyl you released? And he said it's been a while, and I'm like, before you call it an end, like you mind doing a remix for me? And he's like, oh, I'd love to. What's funny though is he sent me an 18-minute remix
18. Yeah.
at first, and I was like,
A double A side.
I'm like, thanks, Claude. This is amazing. Like, how do you tell Claude, like, you need less? I'm like, this is a vinyl release, and I have 2 other great remixes I want to mix. He's, oh, no problem. And he edited, and I have the 18-minute mix, like, digital, and I'm probably going to hold on to it and release it as, something special in maybe a year or 2. But yeah, the remix he did is just so classic Claude, and I'm like overwhelmed with like appreciation and gratitude, because these were the guys I grew up with, like listening to, and just like standing in the crowd watching at like some rave party in Detroit, and I get to work with them now, and it's like whirlwind, like. How the fuck did I get here? But I'm really grateful.
So the record is amazing. But I will tell you more about the record on my next show, Cronet Select, very soon, so I can tell a bit in detail and show you all the tracks, getting you closer to what we talk about here. And then you can search for the vinyl and dig it if you like it. It's an amazing record. Tell us more about the Berlin-Detroit connection.
Well, yeah, it's really exciting. Like, I think we're going into our 12th year.
Wow,
It started with like basically a conversation between like Dimitri and Angie Linder from Detroit Techno Militia. Shout out to Angie. She's the greatest woman in techno, like hands down. Like, there's no more important woman in techno than Angie Linder, and I'll stab somebody in the eye if they say different. But I believe, I wasn't there, but I believe it started as a conversation where, there's always been this, without Germany, like Detroit techno wouldn't have gone, like it wouldn't have been as big as it was, especially Berlin. Like Berlin really gave an opportunity to those like early guys like Blake and, Claude and Jeff. You are
Yes.
countless, but
Yeah.
like,
Treasure.
yeah, they
303 313.
I like that.
Yeah.
That needs to be a shirt. But yeah, like there's such like a symbiotic relationship with Detroit techno and Germany that like it just made sense to do an exchange program.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
because there's so much talent here, there's so much talent there, and it's like let's get these young artists like a little bit of an opportunity, but that's all we give them too. They get a little bit of an opportunity and then like endless opportunity. So to go out and hustle because we want to make sure that they get a small stipend, but it's small. They get a place to stay and they get one gig, and they get a flight over there. And then they get
Yeah.
there and we say, now get to work. And the artists do a project with their like counterpart from Detroit and Berlin, the two artists, the two residents, work on a project together, and they release it or do whatever. We don't really control what they do. We just want them to be creative together and like get in a room, make some art, make some good music, just for the sake of doing it. And
Yes.
it's been
Yeah.
really great. Like we've had so many amazing artists come from Berlin to Detroit. I'm actually going to be staying with one, Julia. She's in Berlin right now. She was our resident in Detroit, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and we really hit it off. She's just an amazing human. I hit her up and said, hey, I'm going to be in Berlin. She's like, you're staying with me.
Good,
And I was
great,
like,
yeah.
okay, yeah, for sure. So I can't wait to hug her, actually. But then the artists we've sent to Berlin, it's given them a huge opportunity, especially the ones that like dig in and they're like, I'm going to make something of this, like Jeremiah Shawscape Renegade.
Oh yeah, I saw him playing as well.
Yeah, he's
Crazy.
Yeah, he like we were playing together at the
Yeah,
barbecue.
yeah, yeah.
Like we kind of he came in after me or I came in after him. I can't remember, but we like kind of played. He was here and I was like
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
and,
yeah.
But he's really like he took it and ran with it, and I think he's the best electro producer in Detroit right now. So that was really cool. What was great was when he was ending his tour, myself and Roach got sick and couldn't come, but and the Vocoder crew from Mexico City, we were all in Spain getting ready to do a show, and Shaw was just wrapping up his tour, and I was like, hey, why don't you come to Spain and play? So he came right at the end of the Berlin program. We all met up in Spain, threw down on a show, and then all flew home together. So that was a lot of fun. But also guys like Augustus Williams, Gusto, he was one of our resident artists. Right now, just came home yesterday because I just had a meeting yesterday. Is Black Moonchild. Keep an eye out for her. She's a beast, but she just came home from Berlin yesterday, and then. We picked a new artist that's going next year. I'm super excited about him. I'm not allowed to talk about it, but keep your eyes out for the Detroit Berlin artists when they get here, and go check him out because he is like just unbelievable. We were really hoping to send him a couple years ago, but some things happened and we had an opportunity to put him on this year. And like I said, I can't say his name. Just remember Detroit Berlin Connection. When you see him, if you see him on a lineup, go check him out.
Oh, yes.
We really scrutinize who we send from Detroit over here for the young artists because we got to represent every time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
once again, honored to be on such like I'm flabbergasted that I get to do any of this shit. Honestly.
Yeah,
Like
that's-
I was never a great musician. Like growing, I played in bands, but I was always really bad at it. I just loved music, and I fell into DJing randomly and a little bit of production and then just kind of met the right people at the right time to give me like the few opportunities that I've had, and people like Claude and Roach and the UR guys, but most of all like Angie Linder and the Detroit Techno Militia guys. Like
Yes.
I feel really grateful to all of them because I'm sitting here at
Yeah,
pressing plant in Germany.
I felt this in Detroit when we were on the Detroit Techno barbecue where we meet, and I felt I was with Marcus there, and we were staying there in the corner, and we were, can you feel this feeling here on this place?
Yeah.
Because everybody was connected mind-wise.
Yeah.
You felt love, you felt music. Everybody was smiling.
Yeah.
Amazing food, amazing vibes,
Yeah,
talks. I met also Sean Rudiman there.
Oh my God, I played one of his white labels like tonight. It's so good.
Yeah.
Like that guy,
so
holy
good
shit.
Talks about, for you guys maybe normal talks, but for us it was like, wow, can you feel this community here? And
Very lucky.
And you see the people, and you know everybody is standing up for each other there.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, it was for us. We came back from Detroit and we were like, what the fuck? We got so much energy, just good vibes. Sometimes you lose your believings and thoughts if you see the whole music scene. You know about all this kind of stuff. But having communities for music, for taking care, taking health care, watching for each other. Usually somebody here exchange tracks and talks and talk. Yeah. That's really cool.
We're Detroiters, man. We love to work. Yeah, like, I mean, it's the barbecue is, there's like 200 great DJs there.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of mind blowing. And then on top of that, it's like quick little half-hour sets of like just whoever, so the music's great, like you said, the food's great, and the company is just unbelievable. But you gotta, like, when techno first was coming through the city, like it wasn't the popular thing. It was like it sucked up the weirdos and the outcast.
Yeah.
And we kind of liked it that way, but like we had to support each other because like there wasn't a lot of other people to support.
Yeah.
So in order to create a scene, like I had to go out and watch the other artists that were playing and hope that they would come out and watch me, because like the scene was really small. And it honestly, in Detroit, it still is pretty small, like especially the techno scene. There's maybe 200 or 300, like if that, maybe more like 100 to 200 like techno artists in the city, or like techno fans in the city. House music is really big in Detroit, very, very popular. And, techno kind of takes a back seat, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I also really love that. Keep techno in the underground and the dirty clubs, like the church that we played at. Like, like I played there maybe like a month or two ago again, and not in the basement, but on the altar.
Yeah, I saw the video. In the real part of a church, not the basement. Yeah.
And that's what I love playing. Like, I'll play a festival, I'll play a big club. Like, that's not what gets me going. What gets me going is the underground. Give me a dark ass room, maybe a strobe light in the corner, and like 100, 75 to 100 sweaty kids just pounding their fist to good slamming techno. Like, that's what I want.
Yeah. That's the grassroots. That's where everything. That's where everything starts. Mostly also with the kids, if they watch you, and mostly if they remember later, back in the days, they remember exactly these moments, clubs, a strobe light, a DJ they watched the first time, some tracks, not the bling bling stuff, because the whole life is bling bling.
Yeah.
They remember in the good moments in the darkness, because usually you have not good moments in the darkness, but if you have, you will always remember in this.
Yeah.
So
I remember me and Saul, like, this was one of our biggest inspirations, Augs 88. Like, and like somehow I became friends with him through the years. And BJ Positronics actually did the mastering, like on our first couple of records, and that was such an honor to get that done. But I remember seeing Augs 88 back when they were the lab coats, the goggles, and they were playing live at this rave. I'd been going to like Detroit underground raves for a couple of years. This was probably like 90, 98 or 99. And we went to this warehouse party, and we saw that, Saul and I, and we went, whoa. like, like we're in this like abandoned, dirty warehouse with like probably filled with asbestos and, you know, maybe like probably like 200, 250 people, like kids, you know, big Jankos and the candy and, you know, we went there and we were just like, we've been going and seeing like, we've been going to these parties but only seeing DJs, and then Augs 88 happened and we were just like, what the fuck is this? And yeah, it changed everything like in that moment. But it took years and years before, you know, I got married and I moved to California and was doing some like parties down in Tijuana for a little while. Like Detroit was bad. Like and not just like
it was an empty city and rough city.
And it wasn't just like dangerous and like you know, kind of falling apart. It was like the local news channel did a big expose on raves when nobody knew what a rave was. This is in I think 2000 or 99 or 2000. They did this big expose on Sunday night. The guy we were talking about, I'm not going to say his name, I don't want to incriminate him, but the guy we were talking about in the car, you know, that you're like, whoa, he gave me a little, and we went to the grocery store, you know, he got interviewed by this undercover reporter outside this rave, and like, but they were in the rave and they were taking like secret filming and like talking to people, and they blasted it Sunday night on the news, and that's back when people watched the news on Sunday, and parents freaked out, called the Detroit Police Department, and Detroit, like back then Detroit was just, they were like, I mean they still kind of are, but the police were kind of gangsters themselves, and they had nothing. There was a few police in the city, and they didn't have like a task force to be able to like assign to shutting down like rave parties. So they said, hey, gang squad, you go shut the parties down.
Wow.
So we'd be in there raving, woo, boots, boots, boots. And all of a sudden, bam, the doors would kick in and gang squad would come in, mask, shields, billy clubs. I remember Saul got pistol whipped and we all got thrown in jail, and he was just like bleeding out of his head. And, you know, so it was kind of crazy. Like those times were pretty nuts, but they were, you know, pivotal in the Detroit underground scene. That's, you know, and that's where a lot of us like really got our start. We're in these parties like the Detroit Techno Militia people. Jason Garcia and Andy Garcia, who he works at Archer. He presses all of our records for Archer. Archer's the company, but Andy's the guy who pulls the lever. And, you know, Andy was doing these really cool parties at this old, like, theater called Easttown Theater, and thousands of kids were coming out. And it was just this, like, really magical moment in Detroit history that, honestly, not a lot of people got to witness. But it started a family, like, this, that is still, like, I mean, I was with them last week in Amsterdam. Like, you know, we're like, because we went through this youthful kind of, it was like a glue that like pulled us all. They were a vacuum that like sucked us all together. And, you know, fast forward to our 40s and 50s and we're still acting like we're 20 and going out and like, let's hear some techno.
Banging techno and having fun with it.
Yeah.
The Techtroid Festival. Yeah, me and Marcus went to Detroit this year and we saw, okay, there's the Movement Festival, but we were not there for the Movement Festival. Yeah. So we had in mind, no, we don't go to the Movement Festival, we go to the small parties. We went to Bookies.
Bang Tech.
Yeah, Bang Tech.
Yeah, Bill Stacy, DJ Soul, another DTM guy.
Brian
Holy shit.
Brian Kage.
Oh my God, Brian Kage. Yeah, he's...
Ryan Sidoros.
Holy shit, yeah.
We saw all these guys there. Also, Derek played there, and we saw.
Drivetrain.
I was like, oh, we watch him now 30 minutes, then we go out to Brian. Then we were like, yeah, it was like, and the party was for free.
Yeah.
We were staying in the entry and like, how come on, man. And 3 floors. It was crazy. Sean Rudiman told us before, this party sets the standard of the whole weekend. What happened? And we were like, wow,
the year before I opened for, it went me and then Rudiman and then DTM out on the outside.
Yeah,
and it was probably one of my it was one of my favorite sets I ever played. It was so much fun, and then like Rudiman right after me, and then DTM, and I was just
Yeah.
like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, you know,
Yeah.
they're you know, such a testament to the Bang Tech guys that I believe it's the longest running movement party that's been consistent, and they do it free every year. And man, Bill just packs it full with talent, and just so much different talent. Bill himself is, it's a toss up between like my favorite digital DJs in Detroit. They both can play vinyl like really, really well, but they play so much that they've switched to digital. But Bill, Stacy, DJ Soul, and Drivetrain, Derek Thomas, like, soiree. I watched them be amazing vinyl DJs forever. And then when CDJs came out, I watched them like, not just like learn how to play them, but learn the ins and outs of how to manipulate them. So they can do, they didn't see them as an easy like way out, like an easier way of DJing. They saw it as an opportunity to be able to take their DJ sets to the next level.
Yeah.
So when you watch them, they're just like all over everything. Just like when I'm on vinyl or Roach is on vinyl, like we're all over whatever weekend. They're doing that, but they're doing it with the CDJs. Yeah. And like making it way more cooler because they have more options. And yeah, those two guys, like my hands down, my favorite digital DJs in town. And the Bookies party is just the Bang Tech party. It's unbelievable. But it goes like the DTM barbecue on Thursday, and then Bang Tech on Friday, and then it's like, all right, whatever happens after this, whatever. Yeah. But those are the two big ones, you know. They're the ones that we as like the Detroit techno like extended family. Those are the ones that we love, and it's really great because our close friends from overseas and Mexico and they'll come for movement, and those are the two opportunities that we get to like see everybody and hang out, because the rest of the weekend you don't know who you're going to run into or when you're going to see them, and it's a lot of like, hey, what up? How's it going? All right, I got to go. Like throughout the whole weekend, you see people for like 3 minutes and then got to go because we're all working. Like, you know, it's everybody comes to town for movement and they're like, yeah, party. Yeah. It's like, well, we all have worked, like we're still industry. Like, so we got to work our day jobs, and then also like then everything's like on steroids for the industry stuff. Like we're doing panels and DJing and like got to meet so-and-so about this meeting, and you know, so-and-so's in time. Yeah. So like, everything. It's just like, go. Yeah. Matter of fact, I let somebody stay in my room, like in my house, like my bedroom, the room that I rent. I let somebody stay there on movement weekend because I know I'm never gonna make it back to my house. Yeah. Like for like 5 days, I'm just not there. Like if I get to stop in and like grab a bite to eat, or you know, like freshen up, like then, maybe. But then it's just out, go, like, you know, and just, you know, crash when you can, and you know, a lot of disco naps at the clubs, and just keep moving because it's like nonstop for movement weekend.
But we thought we go there and 1 week all this movement stuff, and the other week, like it was years ago, then Techtroid Festival.
Yeah.
But then, what I want to say, we missed the Techtroid Festival because it was happened a few weeks later. Yeah.
Well, this past year we did it in August. There's a little bit of like scheduling conflicts with us in June, and we'd been curious. There was another big event in Detroit that was in August and wasn't able to happen anymore. So we were like, what if we tried August and see what could happen? Yeah. And we were really trying to give an opportunity to Europeans to come and experience Techtroid. You know, we still stay really underground, and we don't promote a lot. We want people to find us. You know, we don't want to like be in your face, like come to our festival, like
growing naturally.
Yeah, we want people to find us naturally, and then like be like, oh shit, like this is crazy. So we tried it in August. This year we're moving it back to June. You know, and just because we love that
Yeah.
time in June. My birthday's in June, so it's just like, yeah, let's party.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's throw a festival.
Yeah, the location is amazing. It's a free
Been
festival.
going on since 2011.
Yeah.
Free festival. You know, one of my biggest mentors, one of my best friends, probably the hardest working man in techno, like hands down, DJ Roach. He started it in 2011, kind of as a anti-movement.
Yeah.
You know, we all grew up with DEMF, the Detroit Electronic Music Festival. Yes. Carol Marvin, she was the fucking shit, and she started DEMF, Detroit Electronic Music Festival, and it was free. And that was back when we were all just raving. We were all just like young little rave kids, and we were like, all of a sudden it was like, hey, there's a techno festival in Hart Plaza and it's free. And we were like, what? I found out the day it started. My friend called and was like, did you know there's techno being played in Hart Plaza downtown?
Yeah,
and I'm
Hart
like,
Plaza,
I'm
the
like,
main place.
Yeah.
In the middle of a city.
Yeah, and when I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, we should go. And we went at the end of the night on the first day. And I didn't leave the whole weekend. And then Richie Houghton like closed out that year, the first year, as like a Dex Effects, or what is it? Dex
Three
Effects.
Dex and FX.
Yeah, Dex Effects 909.
Yeah, yeah.
And
3 Dex 909.
And I was like, whoa. And they say 1 million people showed up. Yeah. And it was crazy. 1 million people showing up to a festival in a city that I don't even think had 1 million people at that time.
Yeah.
And was like dilapidated, with not a lot of infrastructure. It was wide open for exploitation, like mismanagement. Yeah, it was like stew, like waiting to happen, of just like either commercialism or failure.
Yeah.
And when Ford kind of started sticking their nose in a little bit more, credit to Ford, they came in the second year and was like, we're going to sponsor this and we're going to bring it. They needed to see the impact of techno, and that was kind of the first like thing that was like, oh shit, this is something. Like this is something that needs to be like looked at. Weird music all these like 20-year-olds are dancing to. Like we need to look at that. And Ford said okay, and they looked at it, and Carol set some crazy deals up, got them to like spend some stuff. Like, I'll tell you a story, because Carol will never say it, like, because she doesn't toot her own horn, but she talked Ford into doing a commercial with Cosmic Cars as the backing track. So like this nationwide commercial with the Ford Focus with Cosmic Cars bumping, and then at the end it just said Detroit Techno, Ford Fusion, or Ford Focus, and that was it. And I remember seeing that and like on the TV and being like, holy shit, like they're playing fucking Juan Atkins on like a commercial, and I couldn't believe it. And then like Carol's not only got the money to like put the event on and make sure that it stayed free from Ford, but she also got Kevin, Juan, Derek, and Eddie all a brand new Ford Focus. Like yeah, okay. She was like, okay, you got to pay for the festival and then give the forefathers of this a free car. And they were like, oh, okay. Like who, like that shit doesn't happen. So she's a beast. She's just another one of those people that I feel so honored that I get to call a friend. And like I could call Carol right now and like and ask her for advice, and she would pick up and be ready to work, you know. And same with Angie, same with Roach, same with all those people you met at that barbecue and at the DTM party. Like people say Detroit hustles harder, and they do, but when it comes to Detroit techno, like the people at those parties, they hustle the hardest. Yeah. You know, and I'll say it 1 million more times. I'm just so honored and grateful to get to work with those people, because, yeah, they're all really special and really talented, and I learn from them every day. And you know, watching Roach has made me just like working with Roach has made me just want to like push and push and push and push. And I made a joke that I'm like married to techno now.
Yeah.
Like whatever techno needs, like, yeah, honey, I got you. So like, but yeah, like,
Yeah.
so Roach through the years, a movement, it started struggling. Carol got removed from event coordinator.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I heard about this, yes.
Her protege got stepped up because he didn't want to lose it, and that Adriel Thornton, he's the one who did the vocals on this track. You know, Adriel is a legend in Detroit, in the underground community of Detroit. He ran Motor Lounge, which is like, no offense to Trezor, but it was probably the greatest techno club ever. And you know, he was a promoter for that, and you know, he did a lot of like underground stuff, and he sat on the Detroit Berlin Connection. He's on our board, the Techtroid board now. But he after him, like Derek May took it over, then Kevin Saunderson, and then I heard a rumor that it was Mike actually that told Kevin, like, hey, why don't you call Richie's Boys, which was like the Paxahau guys, to like kind of help them out. And you know, like, I got to give shouts out to Jason Huvar and Chuck Flask and the guys over at Paxahau. They took something that was like a monster, just this thing that grew and grew and grew, and like, and was having trouble and was being mismanaged, and but the entire techno community around the world was like always looking forward to it. Like, you know, there weren't a lot of festivals back then. Now, like, everybody has a festival, and but back then we had that, and maybe like one or two other weird ones a year. But you know, so Paxahau took over, and you know, someone's got to pay for it. So they made some decisions that I think might have kind of offended the Detroit community. And like a big thing was they stopped booking Detroit artists.
Oh, yes.
And you know, for years they just weren't booking Detroit artists, and then it was becoming they you couldn't even hear techno at the techno festival, and I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was looking on the lineups years ago, and I was like, oh, this looks like a European festival. This was all the headliners there, like the big techno girls, the big techno guys from Berghain, everyone in row. A good lineup, yeah.
Yeah.
But it could be a festival in the middle of Europe.
Yeah.
In the middle of Germany, Italy, somewhere where people get paid a lot to play, and yeah.
And I mean, we love.
But it's still in this city where it comes from.
Like, Detroit loves international talent. We've always been very embracing, and like, I mean, you guys have come, like, you see it, like, like, you know, it's like, hey, welcome to Detroit. Yeah. Like, what do you want to do? Let's make it happen. Who do you want to meet? Like, what stores you want to go to? What do you want to eat? So it's very welcoming. So we do love, like, the European talent coming over and stuff, but like, there's got to be a middle ground. And no offense to anybody, but especially at that time, Detroit had the best techno in the world. We had the best techno DJs in the world. It
was Detroit techno.
Yeah.
It's a genre now.
Yeah.
It's a real genre. Mm-hmm. Even techno sounds like this.
Yeah.
It's tagged in a store like Detroit techno. Even it's not coming from over there.
Yeah.
But if someone sounds like this, it's a genre.
Yeah. And it's a special type of music that's, you know, very soulful. And, you know, a lot of people, like, usually when they're like, I don't like techno, I'm like, well, here, listen to some UR. And they're like, oh, this is techno? Like, this is soulful. I'm like, no, this is Detroit techno.
Yes.
Like, it has that hit, but it also has that soul, because most of those guys, like, learn how to play in the church, like Gerald Mitchell and Mike Banks, and, you know, they learn to play in the church, so they have a lot of gospel roots. And but rewind. Roach saw this opportunity to say, you know, and this is it's such a Detroit thing to do, like, to be like, oh, you're not going to help me do that, or you're telling me no, I can't do that, well, or I can't be a part of that. Well, fuck you, I'm going to go do it myself.
Yeah.
And that's what Roach did. And he got a card table and a B-52 sound system, his turntables and his Pioneer mixer, and pulled a permit for $200, I think, from the city, and went and set up at a park downtown during Movement Weekend, and only booked Detroit artists.
Yeah.
I wasn't there the first year. There, a couple hundred people stopped by, maybe, but everybody loved it.
And it was for families having barbecue, sitting around, dancing around. We heard about the first festivals and we were like, oh, these people, the Detroit guys, they do their own thing there. And look, it's for families. It's for everyone. And it's for free. And it's.
Yep. And by that time, Movement had started charging. I mean, they started charging years before. It started off small, where it was just like a kind of a nominal, like $5 or $10 fee to get in. Escalated and snowballed to what it is now, which is like they have like a year-long payment plan that people do so they can go to a festival in their own town. And that year, I was living in a town like 45 minutes north of Detroit.
Yeah.
And I just moved back from California, and we had this beautiful park with a nice little stage in it. And I was like, you know what? I miss that movement, or that DMF. I miss DMF. I miss like that there was something free with like a bunch of like good local artists. So I did the same thing, not knowing Roach at the time. I went to my city and pulled I think mine was like $75 permit. Pulled a permit, called Angie Linder and a couple other friends and was like, hey, I'm throwing a festival. And I'm going to do it for free. And we called it Pine Grove, because the park was called Pine Grove Park. So we called it Pine Grove, and we did just one day. It was free, 3 stages. And it was really just like a bunch of like friends that I could get to come and play, Thomas Barnett and, Kiro, and a lot of like bigger name Detroit guys that I had known, DTM, that I've met through the years. But I just moved back to town, and I've been gone for like 3 years. I didn't know what the scene was like. I still, like, I knew a few people in the scene, but there was all these new people that had moved to Detroit and that were like in the techno scene, and I didn't know them. So I decided to do a little like DJ contest at a local bar that was letting me do stuff up north. And one of the DJs I would book to play the festival. And I put, I wanted to meet other crews. I didn't want it just to be like my homies playing. I wanted to like reach out. And man, like I knew Jeff, but Jeff Woodward submitted. I hadn't talked to Jeff in like probably like 5 or 6 years, and he submitted, and I'm like, Jeff, what are you doing? Come play. Like, you don't got to try out. And he was like, no, I'll come. And then, like, my buddy Gil, who was helping me organize it, called me one night, and he was like, hey, did you see the Facebook message? And I was like, no. He's like, this guy, DJ Roach, submitted. And I'm like, cool. He's like, he's an underground resistance artist. And I was like, what? Like, get the fuck out of here. And he's like, no, he's an underground resistance artist. And I was like, well, he can just play the festival. So I messaged him back, and I'm like, hey, man, like, you're a UR artist? And he's like, yeah. And he was so, like, nonchalant about everything, and, like, so, like, mellow. And I was like, well, dude, you don't got to come up. You don't got to drive here and do the contest. Like, I would love to have you on the festival. At that time, I still didn't really know him, but, UR... like, that says a lot. If he's a UR Assault DJ, like, come on. Like, the roster of the UR Assault DJs was, like, so deep and, like, so good. Like, I was like, yeah, of course you can play. But he still was like, no, I'll come do the contest. And him and his wife came up with their, I forget who they came up with, but another couple that they're friends with. Yeah, he threw down. And I was just like, oh, shit. And then I found out, like, he was, Rolando's brother, and he already had a whole bunch of great he had a bunch of great tracks out, and we just, it was that. And then he came to the festival. But also, like, DJ Holographic, Ariel Corey, she was one of the DJs that, like, submitted to the contest. And, like, back when she was Techtroit and Pine Grove were the only festivals that, like, the only things that she was getting booked at, or like some underground stuff like the Grenadier and shit. But, so that's where Roach and I met. then I booked him. I would book him every year. He started booking Biblical Proportions at the fest at Techtroit, and I'd go. It was at Harmony Park downtown at that time, and I was like, this is really cool. Like, there's so much good talent here, and they're all locals, and like I was meeting everybody, and like right back into the mix, like seeing friends from like 10 years ago that I met at like a rave, like meeting new people that were just like really talented musicians and just amazing. And Roach and I started like talking about, honestly, just bitching. Like, we were each other's soundboard. Like, you throw a festival, I throw a festival. What are you pissed about right now? Yeah, I'm pissed about that too. Like, fuck those city guys. Like, you know, like insurance bullshit. Like, you know, it was just like we were just bitching to each other for get on the phone every couple of months and just like talk shit. And we started doing like some small tour stuff. Like, we were going out of state to play some shows. It was like Biblical Proportions, me and Saul, and Roach and Ray 7, Raphael Merriweather, who the drummer from UR. And we were going out and playing shows, and we got asked to come over here and do some stuff with Klaus and play in Italy, do some lectures at the University of Pisa, and we played a few shows in Germany. And Roach and I, all of a sudden, boom, like we're together over here on like a 3-week tour. I remember we got to Germany, we traveled all night on a plane, we got dropped off in Frankfurt, jumped on a train, and we took a train all the way to Offenburg. Step off the train in Offenburg, and I looked at him and I was like, shit, we're in Germany. It's the first time I was ever in Germany. And I was like, what do we got to do? He said, well, we got to get a hotel room for the night because we're not getting picked up till tomorrow. And I was like, cool. Do you speak German? And he's like, no. And we're like, all right. Like, so first I was like, well, why don't we find a pub and we'll ask if they can, like, if there's a hotel nearby and if they can call us a taxi for it. He was like, cool. He's like, do you know how to order a beer? And I was like, I don't know. And I pulled my phone out and I'm like, how do you say beer in German? And Bier. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, well, how do we ask for a taxi? And I said, taxi. Like, dude, we're speaking German. Like, we got this shit. So we walked across the street, and I'll never forget the pub. It was called Okies. Man, they didn't speak a lick. They didn't even understand, like, the 2 German words we just learned. They were like, what are you talking? The beer? No. Like, they didn't get it. But I remember we got these big, they look like glass kegs of beer, and they had pretzels on the table, and we just sat there and pounded beer. And some like farmer who spoke a little bit of English came over, and he was able to help us like find a hotel room. And we ended up finding a hotel room. But what was funny was that trip, Offenburg kept being like a hub. We kept like going through Offenburg, so we kept going to Okies and drinking. And by the end, like they were like, like so happy to see us when we walked in. And but yeah, we did that whole tour. And France, you know, doing what they do great. They went on, the whole country went on strike, and they were like shutting down like flights, and the power was getting shut off, and trains weren't running. And we were in France, and a friend of ours was doing like a week, pretty much the same show, like 2 weeks ahead of us. And he hit me up and was like, hey, are you guys in Germany? You going to France? And I was like, yeah. And we were supposed to go spend a day in Paris and then fly out of Paris to go to Italy. And he was like, yeah, don't come to Paris, man. Like, I've been stuck here for 2 weeks. I can't get a plane. I can't get anything. He's like, every dime I made on this tour, I've spent. He's like, you come here, you're going to be stuck here. You guys are going to be broke. And he's like, so just don't even come. And I was like, okay. So we ended up going back into Germany and jumping on a train and taking the train through the Alps to get to Italy. And, you know, what else do you do when you're on a 14-hour train ride but knock back some beers? And, you know, Roach and I are just, like having a grand old time. And, you know, we got serious for a moment, like, you know, 20 beers in or something. And like, He told me, he was like, I think I'm gonna stop doing Techtroid. And by this time I had already stopped doing Pine Groove. I did that like for 4 years, and I was helping a little bit with Techtroid, but mostly just like getting booked for it. And he was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna stop doing it. And I was like, well, no, you can't. And he was like, no, he's like, I don't have the help. He's like, I'm not getting the help that I need. It's like, money is crazy. Like, I can never afford to, the cost just grew and grew every year. And he wasn't getting the support that he needed. And I was super drunk, and I was like, I'll do it. He was like, huh? I'm like, I'll do it, man. I'm here. I got you. I'm not letting this die. And he's like, oh, okay. And then we went on with our conversation, and then the next day we woke up sober, and he was like, hey, did you mean that? And I was like, mean what? And he's like, you gonna come and help? And I'm like, fuck, I said that, didn't I? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. So, you know, those few years, I really like made a decision in my head that, you know, it was so important to hold, like, even if you say something like in a drunken stupor, like, your integrity, like, is all you have, and you have to fucking go do it. Like, I mean, that's how I got doing Pine Groove. I like said something drunk to my buddy at the bar, like, hey, we should throw a techno festival. And he was like, the next day he was like, hey, you said that. And I was like, fuck. So like, same thing happened with Roach and Techtroid. And we ended up in Pisa. In the lecture, I got super emotional. I had to get out of there quick before I like really like got choked up. But in the lecture, I was talking about like this relationship that Roach and I built, and how like Techtroid, like I started talking about Techtroid to this like lecture hall of Italians. They probably didn't know what I was saying, but I was hearing myself, and as I was saying all the great things that about Techtroid, I realized that it had to be Roach and I. Like, nobody was going to support him like I knew I could support him. And so I fucking just jumped in both feet and haven't looked back. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, but it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And once again, I'm like so grateful, like unbelievably grateful that Roach trusts me and gives me this opportunity to like speak for this amazing like grassroots festival that just embodies the Detroit spirit, the Detroit techno spirit. And that's what we want. When you come to Techtroid, you walk out of there feeling like you just experienced Detroit. Like, I mean, you got Detroit. You go anywhere else and you, like, especially now with the city regrowing, you get little tidbits here and there of like what Detroit really is. But you go to Techtroid, you're like immersed in like the epitome of the spirit of Detroit. You're getting great techno, you're getting great ghetto tech, you're getting great electro, you're getting jit dancers, you're getting like workshops, you're meeting the biggest Detroit artists that have ever walked this earth, all the way down to the up and coming artists that are just starting off. And guess what? They're all fucking talented. And yeah, it's so cool. Like, it's so cool that I get to work on this. And then like, we brought Angie Linder in a couple years ago to help. We became a nonprofit. Angie like helped us become a nonprofit. So we can kind of get some breaks on the cost on everything, like finally get a little bit of like funding. We still keep it super grassroots. You don't see any like, you won't see like Ford or like
Pioneer,
Coca-Cola blasted. Like, you don't see that. You see Techtroid. And we love it that way.
I don't tell this normal sentence if you don't know what to do. Go to Techtroid. If you want to see something, you have to go there. Techtroid, watch out for it. It's an amazing festival, amazing location. I will be definitely there next year to watch all the guys and dance my ass off. I know this. I know this. To have a lot of fun. Wow. Moses, you want to say something else, or?
Follow Techtroid. Go to our Instagram page. Follow Techtroid. Follow Detroit. Go dive into it. You will not be disappointed when you go follow Detroit Techno Militia if you don't already. Go follow Soiree Records if you don't already. Tectonica. Gary's label, or Frankie's, no, DJ 3000's label. Go follow DJ 3000. Like, there's more I love Underground Resistance. I love Metroplex and Juan Atkins and everything, but there's so much more.
Yeah.
Like Detroit just pumps out great techno. If you love good techno, dive into it. Like there's so many great labels.
Go there for a week. Go to the record stores there. You will get lost. I found so many records you can only get there, and they are fucking crazy amazing.
A lot of us don't release digital. Like this new stuff, we haven't put digital. Eventually it'll go digital.
Yeah.
But like not till after we sell out of records. A lot of guys in Detroit do that. So if you want the good stuff, go dig. Go to Threads. Like go to People's. There's there's a couple new ones that'll be open next year that I know about.
Cool.
And they're gonna like blow some people's minds on the people that are opening it, person that's opening it. So, come to Detroit. Come to Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit is moving people, and Detroit is back since a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm honored to get to say I'm from Detroit and get to work with it, and so. Thank you. I feel so honored to be able to be here and do this and talk with you guys.
Moses, it was so nice to have you here. And we have to repeat this and however we do this. But we need to talk longer, having a few more small beers. I really love to talk with you about this. Oh man, come on. It was so nice.
Thank you.
This is short days for us and for you to travel and yeah. This was Vinyl Matters. Comment here and give us feedback about the things. Just follow us, follow the guys in Detroit, follow Detroit Techno, Detroit music.
Nuestro Futuro, Roach's label. I almost forgot that. Well, check that out. There's some good shit.
Yeah.
Detroit Techno Militia.
If you want to know more, just ask us here. We can tell you labels, we can tell you artists, we can tell you.
But they'll also like everyone there's super cool. So like if you find an artist that you like you can message them. They'll message you back. Like. So if you got questions too, like, ask you guys, but like send a message to an artist you love.
Exactly.
And they're probably going to hit you back and be like, answer your questions. So Detroit's humble as fuck.
Yeah. And they staying with both, we say this, they staying with both legs on the ground. Not playing around, no talkers, no bling bling. Vinyl Matters, podcast.